All right, hello everybody. We are going to be doing a Recover, Restore, and Core, which is a class we typically do on Fridays at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, virtually. So it's a class I usually take an hour. Sometimes we go over that hour, but we initially start talking about a certain group of muscles or maybe a certain ailment that you might be having. Uh, Today, I'm going to talk about low back, and it's going to be a short, sweet video. We're not going to get into too much detail like we would normally in our hour-long class. But what you want to have with you, if you have it, is a foam roller. I have a towel, a small towel, just something that we're going to help use to stretch. Um, so you can have a small towel or even a yoga strap. And then if you have one, I have a lacrosse ball. It's a little bit firmer than a tennis ball. If you have a tennis ball or even a small child's ball, even a golf ball, that's going to be a little bit more intense, but it's definitely usable. We always start class talking about our feet. I'm not going to get into too much detail about the feet, but our feet are our foundation. If your foundation is weak, if it is not allowed to move freely throughout the day, then the rest of you is just going to kind of fall apart. It affects your ankles, it affects your knees, it'll affect your hips, back, shoulders, all of that can be thrown off. And no one's going to have the perfect posture. Of course, think about the way you sit all day. If you sit all day at work or on the computer, on your phone, um, if you're even standing all day, walking all day, just think about your posture and think about the shoes that you're in all day. We can't always walk around barefoot. We can't always wear barefoot shoes or a shoe that gives us a bigger toe box to where our toes can spread and be in its natural state. That's impossible for a lot of us. So when you come home, the first thing I like to tell everybody is, when you're sitting down, relaxing on the couch, hold hands with your feet, spread your toes, hold hands for 2 minutes on each side, just to kind of give the toes a nice spread. If you have your ball, this is where we start in class. We start by foam rolling the foot. So sometimes with low back pain, depending on how severe or not severe it is, you can actually release the muscles in your low back by releasing the muscles in your foot. And we just put firm pressure all the way from the toes, and I kind of go even towards my heel and just kind of circle. You can spend 20 to 30 seconds. You can spend up to 2 minutes, depending on the time you have. I will tell you, though, that it does take 2 minutes in a stretch to affect the cell that is responsible for that muscle to release. Any tool we use, that's what it is. They're just tools. To release the muscle completely, you want to think about your breath. So are you guarding the stretch? Are you guarding this because it's a lot of pressure on your foot and your foot is not used to that right now? Or your foot is used to being in shoes that really kind of scrunch up the toes. The toe box is not big enough. Maybe you wear heels. Maybe you do have supported arches. Now, I'm not a physical therapist, not a chiropractor, not a foot doctor, merely just a corrective exercise personal trainer. But it has been said by chiropractors and podiatrists that even using supported shoes, supported insoles, it does make your foot lazy. So your foot is not used to creating its own arch once it's out of that. All right, so in class, we would talk about creating our arch and how we would do that ourselves, giving ourselves foot strengthening exercises and movements. But we're gonna go right into our foam roll. So that was just a quick little thing about the feet and how they are our foundation and should be able to move as freely as our hands do. So let's go ahead and foam roll our calves. Now I should tell you that if you are new to foam rolling, and you bruise easily, you may bruise after foam rolling. If you have any contraindications, if you are pregnant, if you have diabetes, you want to ask your doctor if you can foam roll. So please, before starting any of these classes or videos, consult with your physician, especially if you feel like you might have a contraindication. All right, so we're going to stack ankle over ankle. Give ourselves a little bit more pressure. If that doesn't feel right, you keep that foot bent, keep that knee bent. From there, we'll foam roll our TFL muscle, a little tiny muscle in the hip area. Not going to foam roll our IT band because this TFL muscle, if it's inflamed and tight, could be responsible for a lot of the low back pain and some knee pain. So foam rolling this TFL, getting used to putting pressure on there because it does want to act like it's big stuff when we're doing our squats. It wants to take over when we're not using our glutes properly. So we really want to pay attention to this area as well. So just foam roll slightly up and down. You can go side to side. And 20 to 30 seconds foam rolling each muscle is great. If you need to do more, if you need to sit with more pressure, use that breath. Exhale, inhale. Longer exhales than your inhales. Let's go on to our glutes or piriformis muscle. You're going to cross the ankle over on that same side, just so you can kind of dig in. Now, if we have low back pain, we don't really want to take our foam roller to the low back unless you have one of those specialized foam rollers that's meant for the low back and to make room for the spine. But foam rolling this piriformis muscle can help release some of that low back tension. And just kind of go up and down the length of the glute. So from there, we're going to take it to the other side. Let's go calf. Ooh, nice and tender. I'm definitely feeling the effects of the benefits of last night's class. All right, so we got our calf muscle on this side. We're going to move on to the TFL muscle. Go ahead and lay on that side. And just little tiny up and down movements. You don't want to hit bone with your foam roller. You can move forward and back. You can lay on a tender spot using the breath. Now we're going to move on to the quads, front of the thigh. Front of the thigh, if we're doing lots of squats, lunges even, can get very tight. And that can start doing some things to the low back. So we'll foam roll the length of the quad. Let's move on to the other side. I like to bend the knee on the opposite side just to kind of make room and get the length of that quad muscle. We also want to think about foam rolling our inner thighs. So I take my foam roller vertically, bend the knee of the side we're working on. Whew, nice cracks here. And just kind of go the length of that inner thigh. Be very careful getting towards the groin. I'm moving a little bit quickly because of time, but you can think about moving nice and slow, controlled movements, using the breath. And let's move on to the other side. Definitely slow this down or pause if you need to. Guys, if you are feeling it's just like, oh my gosh, so intense, it is too painful, you can sit there on that tender spot, use the breath, and slowly just kind of inch your way forward and back. Definitely no need to rush during these. All right, so we've got those major muscles, and we're going to hit the mid to upper back. So remember I said not the low back unless you have one of those specialized foam rollers, have a little dent in the center to make room for your spine. So mid back, and then we'll just kind of move our way down, shoulders up to the shoulders, arms overhead. Might feel some nice little cracks and pops. Give yourself a nice little adjustment. We're bridging our hips up. That always feels nice. All right, so mid to upper back. I'm going to show you a little trick here with the ball. So for the low back, you can use your ball to get into what we call the QL muscle. They're on either side, and this is where most people have a lot of problems with their low back. It's the QL muscle. So you want to take that ball, and you're just going to lay yourself down on that ball, on the muscle. It is super deep, guys. It's really deep, so it's hard to get to. And that's why it's just so hard to manipulate and make feel better. So you can kind of get this ball into that area, crossing this leg over, and maybe even just moving side to side. You can also lay there and move side to side. You can lift yourself up, depending on how much pressure you need. You can also do this on a wall. So if you have access to the wall, you would take your ball in that low back muscle, take it against the wall, and you can roll it. You might even have better luck controlling the ball against the wall here. Ooh, that is nice. Other side, I think I'll stay on my wall here. Other side, just up and down, side to side. Feels good. So while we're here, either on the floor or on the wall, you can take this into the top of the glutes here, to the smaller muscle, and you can also roll that glute med, so all the way towards the front, hitting a little bit of that TFL muscle as well, all the way to the back. So rolling side to side, hitting the length of that tiny muscle right above the glutes, a big part of the glutes. That gets super tight. So other side. Oh my goodness. If you have a tennis ball, it gives a little squish. It gives a little bit. So it might not get in there as deep, but a tennis ball is a nice gateway to maybe the lacrosse ball, something a little firmer. Start off with the tennis ball. We started off with tennis balls when I first started, and that was already enough for me because I had never done it before. Okay, so another trick, we're going to get the hip flexor. So when we think of hip flexor, we think, in this little crease here, but it's actually your belly button. Just move a couple inches over to the side, and this is where we're going to manipulate that. So you can do this on the ground. If you need a book or a yoga block, you can definitely use that just to kind of give you a little bit more, because sometimes the ground just doesn't give enough push in there. You just kind of want to fall on that. And if you don't have a yoga block or book to put that on, the edge of your foam roller will do just nicely. You stretching, girl? And you're just going to lay on that. You really want to take a long exhale. You're going to hit the deep hip flexor, the psoas muscle, another muscle that's just super hard to get to. And then we'll do that on the other side, either with your ball or the edge of your foam roller. She just has perfect timing. She is always wanting to go out when I'm filming. And she loves the stretches, the stretch class and the stretch part of class. Okay, so we've done our, what we call SMR, our self-myofascial release. I'll let her out. Let's get into our mobility flow. So we like to take a mobility flow during this class, or actually I like to, before we start strengthening. So we're getting into a corrective exercise protocol where we self-myofascial release or foam roll. And then we'll go into a little flow, just kind of get our bodies ready for the strengthening. Because if you've been stretching and stretching and stretching and nothing is helping, guys, it's time to do something different. It's time to strengthen. So we'll do our strengthening, and then at the end, we'll do some static stretches, some holds. So what I like to do is start off first in your child's pose. Your knees apart for me, please. That way you can kind of let the hips get right into the hips here. And try and exhale and lower your tailbone down, reaching actively through the fingertips at the top. And then we're going to roll ourselves up, but we're going to round the back. Tuck the chin in, hands are under shoulders. So now you're in this sort of, we're doing a little active cat-cow or a moving cat-cow. Tucking the chin in, tuck my chin in, tuck my tailbone in so my belly button is sucked away in, opening my shoulder blades. And now I'm going to slide my hands forward slightly and then drop the hips. Pull the shoulder blades back and down. Lift the chin. I'm dropping, lifting. With this arched low back and my chin still lifted and my shoulders back and down, I'm going to, with an arch, push my tailbone back. Getting into a little spinal flow here. And then I want to do it one more time. I'm going to round coming up, round, 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 tuck, 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 open shoulder blades, drop hips, pull shoulder blades down, lift the chin. With that arched low back, I'm going to press back with my tailbone, chin is still lifted. All right, from here, we didn't talk about anterior or posterior pelvic positioning. Most of us are in anterior, some of us are in posterior as our posture. Either one for long amounts of time is going to cause some back issues. Now, I always like to tell my class, I don't know if I said it in the beginning here, but there are really no bad movements because our body should be able to move freely in whatever plane of motion. No bad movements, just the movements we are not ready for. So this is the class I like to get you guys ready for any type of movement. So that's why we do some of the things we do. So from here, posterior, tucked everything in, anterior, our tailbones out. I want you to find a neutral. So I like to move a little bit in this, and then I find my neutral. Belly button in, natural curve in the spine, not really tucked in and not arched out. Take your hand behind your ear, open up the shoulder here. Inhale, elbow to elbow. Exhale, open. Little thoracic twist here. Sometimes our low back is giving us problems because our upper back is nice and tight as well. Rounded shoulders. A lot of us have rounded shoulders. Let's do that to the other side. Hand behind the ear. We're not dipping into the shoulder. I want you to press that out and find your neutral spine. Inhale, elbow, elbow. Exhale, we open up. Inhale, elbow, elbow. Exhale, open. Give me a couple more. All right, from here, let's go ahead and take your right leg forward. We're going to give ourselves a nice little tilt upwards, squeezing the butt, lunging forward. Reach up and over, hip flexor reach. Think about this hand inside the thigh. Now you've got to force yourself to twist open. These two are against each other, nice and strong. Open here. Now here's where some people get it wrong, is they're just kind of letting go in the glutes, in the abs. I want you to tuck that in and squeeze it. And now you're going to feel it more along the lines of the hip flexor. All right, go ahead and wrap your hand here around your knee. Drop, lift the toes, drop this hip. Lift up out of your chest. Getting a nice stretch in that TFL, that tiny muscle that likes to act up. And in the QL, the low back muscle, where a lot of us have a lot of problems. So we're dipping that down. If you can, look over the shoulder. Go ahead and come back up, flex that foot, but wiggle the toes. Now, hamstring stretch. Some of us stay rounded here. Think about what happens when you open and pull the shoulders back and down. Maybe do that a couple times. Maybe round and then open. Think about anterior pelvic tilt here, pushing the tailbone back. This is when you need that anterior pelvic tilt so you can get more into the hamstring. When your hamstrings are tight, your low back is acting up. I'm just going to switch my positioning here because I don't want to face you guys from the back, but we're here in our hamstring stretch. Bend that knee, bring that toe maybe at an angle, but that knee is going to follow the line of the middle toe. And then open up right here. Inner thigh stretch. Some of you might need to come up a little bit more. Now we're just going to reverse all that. So walk it over, hamstring or inner thigh. Move a little faster in this one, but still being able to feel the movements. And go ahead and take that hamstring stretch, round your back, and then open. Oh my goodness, hamstrings are tight. I knew they would be from last night's class. So take your tailbone, point it back as far as you can. Pull the shoulders back and down. Now we're going to drop the hip. You're holding on to that knee, right? Look over that shoulder. Push yourself away from your ground, but drop your hip. That way you feel it more in that side. Go ahead and bring yourself up here to your lunge, tucking everything under. Reach up and over, hip flexor reach. To give yourself a little more, we go against that inner thigh and we pull open the chest. All right, go ahead and bring it down. Okay, guys, we're going to start off our strengthening with a forearm plank. 2 or 3 sets of these. The joys of working from home. So 2 or 3 sets of everything that I am giving you. The forearm plank, you can go 20, 30 seconds. All right, maybe work yourself up to a minute. If you can't go 20 seconds in good form, drop, relax, and then do it again. But we're gonna go through 1 set of everything, okay? So forearm plank, and I'm gonna talk through it, so maybe you rest and do another one as I'm still talking. But what we wanna think about in our forearm plank is you can take your hands forward, you can clasp them if you need. I have a tendency of prayer hands, but your weight, you want to make sure your weight as if you were in a regular plank. Your weight is over your wrist here, your weight's going to be over your elbows. So some people come too high, but weight is over the elbows. Let's start on our knees first. So looking down at your fingers, maybe a little past your fingers so you're not looking under and you're not looking up. Weight is over the elbows. When you're on your knees, your hips are not going to come up. You're going to tuck under, posterior pelvic tilt. You're going to open your shoulder blades so you don't sink into your shoulders and wing out. When you start to straighten your legs, kneecaps lifted, you're tucking. Okay, so there's a difference from being here and then being here. And you're kind of looking maybe at your elbows or looking under and your hips are up. You need to drop your hips. When I say drop, some people are really sagging here. So you need to find that long line from the crown of your head to your tailbone to your heels. Okay, so tucking the tailbone under, then that core really fires up, pressing the heels back as if you're getting a calf stretch there. Go ahead and drop if you haven't already and relax. All right, so sometimes in class we talk about the winging of the shoulder blade. A lot of people have that. And their planks and their push-ups definitely show that they're winging. And that just kind of causes other sorts of problems as well. So you always want to kind of think of when you're in those positions to kind of open the shoulder blades up, wrapping the shoulder blades sort of like around the ribs, if you will, pushing down and back. All right, next up, we are going to do Superman. So strengthening plank was strengthening the core, right? That forearm plank. Try and do 3 sets of 20 to 30 seconds as you can. Superman, tuck your chin in, and just as it says. Now you can keep your feet on the ground for now, and then lift your chest and lift your arms, right? So you want to try and do maybe 10 to 12, 2 to 3 sets if you have the time, have the chance. 2 sets of 12 is fine. Now if you can, you want to raise up the legs as well. Lift the quads off the ground. Pull the shoulder blades back and down. Keep the chin tucked and look down. Some people think of it's an opposite crunch. It's a crunch for your back. Okay, yes. But I want you to first think of lengthening long before you think of crunching into that low back. Because if we just go right into a crunch in that low back, ouch, eventually. You want to think of squeezing the glutes and length before crunch. All right, I'm not sure how many that was, but we're going to move on to a cobra push-up. I'm going to call it a half cobra push-up actually, because I don't want you to straighten your hands. Your feet are going to be down. You're going to tuck your chin in, shoulders back and down their sockets, hands under the shoulders, tuck the elbows in. You want to raise halfway, shoulders back and down, and then lower. This can also be done against the wall. And in fact, I think in some, well, I know when I was in therapy, they had me do them against the wall. Your plank can also be done against the wall, guys, your forearm plank. If you are just absolutely not the greatest at planks and you need somewhere to begin and the knees are still not cutting it for you, against the wall is great. And I'm going to show you real quick. I probably should have showed you before. I don't know if you can see this, but you still want to stay, kind of walk away, and you still want to stay in that tucked position with that straight line, and you still want to feel that core firing up, okay, with the forearms. There. You can also use a chair. Using a chair for plank. Great high plank here. With the chair, tuck the tailbone under. Lowering down on that chair. Beautiful. Still feeling it. Okay, still use the cues. All right, from here, that we did a cobra push-up. Dead bug. A lot of people think this is super easy. And yeah, if you're doing it wrong, it's super easy and it doesn't feel like much. So the beauty in this, or where the magic happens, guys, is gonna be in your low back pressed into the ground. Feel your core fire up when you do that. Tuck the chin in. In this class, in this live class, we talk about this position, this thing that we all do here, gives us, I forget how many pounds of pressure on our neck, 12 to 20, I don't know, depending. I guess depending on how big your head is, right? You want to tuck it in, give yourself almost a double chin, pull shoulder blades back and down. We didn't talk about all that posture because we don't have the time right now in this video. But if you come to class, plus I don't want to give out all the secrets. If you come to class, we'll learn about that. So I want you to imagine your neck pressing against the floor. It's not going to get there, but that's the posture I want. Neck pressed towards the floor, low back pressed towards the floor, rib cage down, shoulder blades back and down. Let's go ahead and raise our knees. All right, so your low back's pressed, you're not arching and letting go. I shouldn't be able to push my hand in there and go right through, so tuck things in, guys. All right, we're working our brains here. So opposite arm down, or opposite arm, opposite leg down, and then come back up. Nice and slow. Eventually you can start adding dumbbells here. Right? But we want to make sure we get this first. Because see, my neck is already starting to lift. And I want to press my neck towards the ground. My low back is already starting to raise. And that's where people think this is so easy. Because yeah, I can probably just do whatever without controlling. But this is control using the core entire core is working here. This is one of the best exercises for your core. Deep, deep core muscles. And this is very core friendly for anyone that's had hernia, diastasis recti, rectidiastasis, whatever you want to call it. This is very core injury friendly, and anybody, it's good for anybody actually. So those are the 4 core, now your back is part of your core, core exercises for you to strengthen the core, the abs, the low back, or the back, I should say. Now I want to get into the static stretches. So if you have your towel or your yoga strap, you can even use your hands, but I find sometimes having a towel or something kind of helps me get into this, because what I want you to do with this is a set of 10 to 12 breaths. Now, we're going to just take it. Anytime you strap this for this stretch, for this hamstring, I want you to either strap the arch or heel, never the toes, because we don't want to flex the toes and get all those nerves involved, or the ankle. Again, neck is pressed down. This leg pressed down. I want you to inhale and then long exhale, pull this leg. Both legs are straight as much as you can get them straight, guys. Now, 10 deep breaths or 2 minutes. Remember, I said 2 minutes is how long it takes to affect the cell that's responsible for releasing that muscle. I heard that straight from a physical therapist, so that's why I use it. And it's so true, because we don't stretch enough in any exercise class. We don't have 2 minutes a muscle to stretch, right? We got 2 to 3 minute cool down. We're done, we're out the door, if some people last. Some people think it's really boring to cool down, but we definitely need it. Even if just that little bit at the end of your workout class. But if you can, come home and stretch 10 long breaths or 2 minutes. So now I want you to, each time you exhale, that long exhale, pull towards you. You get a little closer each time. Now listen to your body. If it starts to pull a little too much, you need to stay there and breathe through it. Because you're using, again, this is just a tool, the towel. You're using your breath, the nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, to help release. All right, now I'm not sure if we did 10 breaths for 2 minutes, but you get the idea. When you're home and alone, go ahead and do that. So let's do the other side. So getting some length in those hamstrings will help that low back, some low back issues. Inhale through the nose, exhale with straight legs on both, wiggle your toes so the nerves are not involved. Go ahead and pull on the exhale. Keep that knee straight. If you'd like to pull on each exhale, that's up to you, but you listen to your body. You may have to sit and breathe through some of it rather than pull. We also talk about the hamstrings in class and how sometimes they're not always tight, they're weak, and we've got to strengthen them. We always think about doing things that are working the quads, the glutes. We kind of miss the hamstrings. And sometimes it's hard to tell. Are my hamstrings weak or are they tight? Is my hip flexor weak or is it tight? So I like the corrective exercise mode, if you could call it that, of where you foam roll, stretch, strengthen, integrate it all together. Because you just get the beauty of both worlds. And that's why I urge people to take all different types of classes. If you're one that loves weights or high intensity cardio, I urge you to take a different class, a PIO class, a pop Pilates class, a yoga class, you know, or if you're someone that's only taking pop Pilates and yoga, I urge you to take a boot camp class or a lifting class or a high intensity class. It's great to be well-rounded. All right, let's relax. All right, good job on that. We're going to go into reading my notes, of course. I'm cheating over here. Hip flexor reach. 2 ways you could do this that are great. Now, if your knees are bothering you, we just did one on our knees in our flow, our mobility flow. But if you're on your knees, I talk about tucking under, right? So we tuck, then we lunge, and then you already feel it right here. You should already feel it right here when you squeeze that. And then we reach up and over towards the other knee. You can lay right there. You can do some reaches. Think of reaching up before you reach over though. And you're gonna really get length in there. Now to give yourself a little extra, right inside the knee, force yourself to open up. Because again, some people are like this, right? Force yourself to open up. 10 breaths, 10 long breaths. Let's do the other side. Then I'm gonna show you how to do it standing. Tuck, lunge, reach up, then over. Give yourself more open chest. All right, relax. So standing, you can go against the wall here. Same thing. Now you're going to drop, you're going to take a little step back, heel lifted, drop that knee right under the hip, tuck, reach up and over towards this wall. If you don't have a wall handy, pull that wrist. And let's do it to the other side. So releasing that tight hip flexor, if it is indeed tight, either against the wall or wrist. That can also help your low back issues. Sometimes we're super tight here from sitting, right? We need to really stretch out that hip flexor. All right, a seated figure 4, or you can do a figure 4 standing and seated, or chair sit. Yoga chair sit is what I was trying to say. Or you can sit on a chair, cross the ankle. Hopefully you can still see me. Like I need my own camera crew to follow me around, but it's not possible in this time. Maybe in a few years, guys. Take the hand, you can press that knee down, sit up tall, don't just let everything go, sit up nice and tall. This can also be done seated. Crossing over. You can take your hips more towards the heel, sit up nice and tall. You can pull back a little bit if it's a little much. Play with the positioning, flex the foot. Now, if your heel comes more towards you and your knee goes more towards the floor, you're gonna get a little bit deeper in there. Third way to do this, laying back, crossing over, pulling that bottom leg, bringing that knee into the inner thigh. You can flex both feet here, get it active, and you really get into that piriformis muscle, the glute muscle. Okay, one last thing I want to show you. TFL, similar to what we did in the hip flexor reach against the wall, but now we're going to do TFL, little tiny thing that likes to act up. Some people do this a couple ways. I like to take this outside foot behind me. I'm on the blade. I'm going to bend this front knee. I'm going to reach over towards my wall. And instead of rounding here, which a lot of people do, I want to open. So if you need to come up a little bit on your wall so you can open, do that. You're pushing away from the wall, so you're pushing that hip towards the opposite side of the wall. Super deep, intense TFL, QL, all that right here. Feel that get super stretched out. Didn't know the words because I was so enjoying it. Do the other side. Take it behind you. I like to flex that foot and kind of get on the blade. Bend that front knee. Reach up and over. Now my little one, he's only 10, but he has some low back issues already. And he plays golf and his low back hurts. And this is his favorite that I've showed him. He loves doing this. I do too. I get so tight right there. So again, if you can sit in those static stretches for 2 minutes, please do it. Or 10 long breaths. 10 long breaths, okay? So that way you're really focusing on your breathing. We didn't learn how to breathe today. There is a proper way to breathe to kind of release things, breathing 360 all around. But focus on your breath in those stretches. There's so much I can talk about in these classes, so I would love for you to take a class or register for the class. It's on Friday, which right now is Free Friday for virtual classes. Even if you register and can't make it, I send you the video of the class if I see your name on the roster so that you can take it later and you can benefit from these. If you have any suggestions for me, you want, you're having trouble with the muscle or anything, let me know and I will do my research. I do belong to the Move You program, which I have bought, and I get a lot of my ideas from there. Like I said, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physical therapist. I wished I had went to school to become a physical therapist, but I didn't realize later on in life what I wanted to be when I grew up. So corrective exercise was my the way to go for me. So I learned a lot of things that can help you get, hopefully, free yourself out of the pain that you might be in, or help you move better in a class. Even if you're not in pain, these classes are great because it helps you maybe, one, become aware of your body, where it is, proprioception, where your body is in space and what the space it takes up, helps you move better in class, helps you become aware of your movement patterns, what you should be doing to prevent any pain, especially if you're young or new to working out. You want to make sure you prevent that so that you can keep coming back to all the classes that you love, whether it's running outside, whether it's going to CrossFit or going to the gym and doing your own thing. So thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know how I can serve you better. And hopefully we grow our community and our virtual community. We do all of our classes via Zoom right now. So if I get more subscribers on YouTube, I can go YouTube Live. But right now, it's Zoom it is. So I'll see you guys later. Have a great day and stay mobile.